Hi, this is Max. This is another CSR2 video tackling the supply cup with the AMG GTR. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 ways to take this supply cup on, including my tuning technique that I showed in another video to demonstrate the differences. The first and one of the easiest way to do this is to simply use a stock AMG GTR. I have one here. I pulled this one first actually. It's a dark gray one. As you can see, if you just drive it as well as you can, you should make it through the cup. And that's a win. Now, mind you, these are only beginning races, so the margin there is pretty large. By the time you get to race number 15 and up, you may be looking at less than a tenth difference between you and the opponent, meaning you really can't make too much mistakes here. With the stock car though, progression of the opponent's car getting faster seems to be relatively controlled, and you shouldn't have a problem winning this all the way through. In fact, running stock PC car to get through these supply cups is a recommended method by quite a few players, and I can see why. As long as you can drive the car relatively well, you shouldn't have much of an issue going through the supply cup races. The next type is the one that most of us are probably facing, which is we already got the car partially built, and we really don't want to deal with turning it back to stock and then retuning it back to whatever we had it. Just want to tackle it with maximum Evo. Again, in the beginning, this is pretty easy. You set it to max Evo. You set the tune to the highest Evo points you can get, and then you go ahead and go out and do the supply cup. Now, what you'll notice though is that this is, again, much like the stock car, going to require you to drive pretty well. You have to cut it kind of close to your dyno in order to make sure that you're able to get through the entire supply cup. Again, the beginning races will be easy. It's the last 10 or so where you may have a loss or two because things are going to be a lot closer. The good news with this car is that it's relatively easy to drive. If you launch perfect, you pretty much can't screw it up as long as you hit the nitrous and shift without letting the needle basically sit at red line. It'll cut close to the dyno, if not slightly faster, so that's always good news. Makes the car relatively consistent to deal with. Right now, again, only a 0.2 difference there, and that's going to get smaller and smaller as well. So if you're not comfortable driving the car yet, or you just don't want to have losses taking up time while you try to figure it out, this running the max Evo technique is definitely the most challenging way out of the 3, because the opponents will be adjusted to be faster and faster as you run, particularly towards the last few races. So that brings us to the next technique, the last technique, which I already showed on a separate video how to tune to get the low Evo / negative Evo tune to substantially beat dyno. So I'm going to go back to that real quick and set the car up to show you how that's done. Here I'm going to run one more race with the max Evo just to kind of show you again the progression with the opponents as they slowly get a little bit closer to your time. Mind you, this is only the first 5-6 races, so this is the easiest you will face out of the entire 25. Now, I screwed up a little bit there, so you can see with just a slightly slower race, that one was cut a lot closer. 7.924 to an 8.136 is pretty close. So imagine later when the opponents are running 7.9s or 7.8s, you can't make any mistakes. You have to get through without any mistakes in the way you drive. So those are the challenging ways for players who like the challenges. For players who don't want the challenge and just want the parts and the points for the crew, you just bump your settings down slightly, get that drop. Now you went from a 7.7 dyno to a 9.6 dyno. So you go back and take on the supply cup. With the new change, what you'll notice is the computer will now slow the opponent down substantially. So even if you make a mistake, such as launching exactly perfect and getting a 0 RPM drop, boom, hit nitrous right away, drive the car normally, and watch that huge lead you build up, because the opponents are now adjusted to your 9.6 dyno and will be running 9.9 to 10. Probably all the way to about maybe a 9.4 or 9.5 at the very end of the 25 races. Meanwhile, your car, with just the right driving technique, or even if you screw it up, will do no less than an 8.3, 8.5. And if you launch slightly late and then drive it normally, you will get a 7 point something quarter mile, which means you will not lose a single race to the end of the supply cup. Well, I hope this was helpful to you. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and leave a like if you liked the video. Feel free to comment. I hope you have an easy supply cup. Good luck.